Hi everyone, hope you are doing well from wherever you're watching this channel, depending on your time zone. Now, it was beyond any reasonable doubt that Raila Odinga managed to steal the show at the burial of the late Mukami Kimathi. This was possible because Raila was able to demonstrate his close relation with the late. He was able also to demonstrate his relation and what he had been able to do for the Mambo fighters who were part of that burial service, and he was able to demonstrate to William Samoei Ruto before the people how the cost of living is affecting them. And everyone was in agreement with Raila Odinga. But then it will be very bad for us to close this discussion without focusing on the response from Kenya Kwanza, especially from William Samoei Ruto, and how the people were receiving that response. Therefore, it is better we use this opportunity to also check from the speech from the Kenya Kwanza side in response to Raila and to the people in that area. Ruto was responding to Raila Odinga, and in one of these speeches, this is what he said: Raila, when it comes to history, you can beat me, but when it comes to the economy, I understand that. One thing that made William Samoei Ruto's speech to backfire is that the burial we were having, or the function that was happening, it was all about the history of Kenya. This was one of the Mambo fighters, a person who was able, in fact a woman, to earn a title of a marshal, field marshal. So it was all about the history and what the people who stood to sacrifice their life to fight for Kenya as a country. So this event was better to narrate the issue of history in this country, to remind the new generation about where the country has come from. But then Ruto is talking about what? Economy. But the focus here is about what? Bringing that issue about the history. And Raila managed to narrate the history of this country from what the Mambo fighters went through fighting for this country, and what he was able to stand for on matters to help Mambo get their justice by going to an extent of reaching out to the UK Prime Minister. So Ruto was talking about the issue of economy, as if the issue of history is something that does not want to discuss about. But of course, the event was all about history. We had Mambo fighters who are still living and breathing, who are present in that event. They would want to hear a story about that. The people who are attending this event knew that they are going to attend an event that is touching on the people who fought for the freedom. So they would want to listen more about what happened, the past, rather than most on the current. Number two, this is also what Ruto said when he was now responding to the issue of high cost of living. Now telling Raila Odinga, this is what he said: I have identified almost 20 areas to reduce taxes so that we can alleviate the heavily burden on Kenyans. I have also reduced the amount we have been borrowing this year. I have revoked 500 billion shillings that would have borrowed. He says he has identified more than 20 areas to reduce taxes. If you listen to the speech from William Ruto and the response from ground, there was disagreement. The body language of the people, they were not nodding to this speech. They were disagreeing with Ruto. You could see the silence. You could see the anger in people's face. Because when Ruto talked about the 20 areas that he has focused on reducing taxes, one of those areas is on the people who are importing choppers. Saizi, wametoa ushuru kwa chopper, imerudishwa chini kabisa, it's like nil. So those people want to go into those business of importing chopper and lending chopper here and running such kind of activities, they have a free day. Sasa wale watu wa kawaida tu wenye kwa hii nchi wako na uwezo wa kununua choppers, because now they have removed taxes from choppers. Wakenya wa kawaida wako na hiyo uwezo. That's why people were in disagreement with William Ruto's statement. When Raila is saying that maisha iko juu inafinya Wakenya wa kawaida, Ruto anakuja anasema I have identified 20 areas that have reduced taxes. Kwa hizo 20 areas, have you reduced taxes on consumable goods? Chakula. In those 20 areas that you have identified to reduce taxes, have you reduced taxes on farm inputs? Tuanzie kwa mbolea, tukuja kwa mbegu, tukuja kama ni majembe ama nini zinatumika kuhifadhi kutumia kufanya ukulima. Have you reduced taxes? The answer is no. Bado iko huko juu taxes. So for anyone who want to go in agriculture, you must prepare to have more input. So it is going to be expensive. Hapo mkulima ameachwa nje. Bei ya mahindi, bei ya unga alituambia itakuwa 70 shillings once they take over power. Today we are talking about 180 to 190. Alitoa subsidy. So is that one of the areas that you have identified to reduce taxes? People were not in agreement with this statement. Let us check also. Ruto is telling us that he is a student of Kibaki. Let us read this one. I am a student of Kibaki. When he took over, taxes were at 120 billion. Due to the proper planning, he pushed it into almost 1 trillion. My friend Uhuru came in and pushed it, but also added a lot of debt and got to 2 trillion. It's my turn now and I want to push it to 2.8 trillion this year. I mean, the people who are listening to this speech were trying to scratch their heads. You are a student of Kibaki. Can you try to connect and see what you can identify in William Ruto that was close to what Kibaki was doing? There was total disagreement on that statement. There was no one who was nodding their head in agreement with Ruto's statement. Ruto na Kibaki ni kama mafuta na maji. Because, and I want to demonstrate to you, when Kibaki came to power, he opened the taxation bracket. But Ruto has come to power, he's squeezing the taxing bracket rather than expanding it. How did Kibaki expand the taxing bracket? Number one, Kibaki removed taxes on motorbikes. So when you are importing motorbikes, those who are in that business, you import so much cheaply and you sell it at a cheap price. One motorbike was going for close to 70 to 100 shillings. In fact, even up to, it was 60 to 100 shillings, depending on the model and what it can work for you. So it was because there was no taxes. Ukiwa tuna 60,000, you have one. Again, you could get on a loan, because now when you go, they were just hawking motorbikes because they were too much. So when you have like 30,000, you get it on a loan. That is what opened the border industry. Today, border is one of the most area where the government is generating revenue. Huge. Border brought a breakthrough in revenue collection in this country. Why? Kibaki did not focus on taxing the the motorbikes. He allowed it to come, then have the business, then tax from there. That was the wisdom that Kibaki brought Kibaki allowed people to import cars in this country if they also wanted to go into taxi business. A Probox was going for about 160,000 to 200,000 shillings. So people had this matatus in the taxes in this country. Unaleta tu gari unaanza biashara yako hapo. Hakuwa na biashara kubwa sana ya Probox. He opened the taxes bracket. So importation was here. Today, the same Probox is going for 600,000. It's going now for 1 million. Look at that. That was Kibaki for you. So when these two products and other ones were allowed in the market freely, what happened? There was cheap and affordable means of transport. Affordable means readily available. So there was readily available means of transport because the borders were there, the Probox was there, so that Mambo was having free, easy transportation of the goods from one place to another very cheaply, and that dictates also selling of those products on affordable price, so that many Mamboga were able to be in the market because it was easy to run business, and number two, the product was affordable in the market and readily available. Kenyans really enjoyed. The banks were hawking money. Kulikuwa na pesa tu wanaomba bwana ukope pesa. Today kupata mahali pa kukopa pesa na kuambia wanataka sijui leta title deed, sijui leta nini, vitu nyingi tu before they were hawking money. Why? Because Kibaki had the wisdom to open that bracket. Can you compare anything with William Ruto? Mimi sioni kabisa. Ruto amefanya makosa makubwa kujilinganisha na Mwai Kibaki. When Kibaki came to power, we had subsidized education. People were enjoying education. Today, we are paying school fees very high. Ruto has shown appetite to eat all the money from everywhere that Kibaki alikuwa ameweka na Uhuru akakuja developed on that. Uhuru was taking us to another phase of free education. TVET zilikuwa zimeanza kuwa free, colleges were supposed to be free, and the university should be 100% free. Today, wanasema they are identifying students of who are the most needy. Most needy, wengine wanaachwa. Wale most needy watakuwa those who have close connection with the politicians. Huyu Ruto amefanya makosa makubwa sana. He should not try to compare himself with the Kibaki. So that's the reason why this message was not selling. Ruto's speech ended up backfiring so much badly. Raila's speech was received with a lot of joy. There was smile. People were in agreement. They were nodding their heads. But with William Ruto, there was sigh. Watu walikuwa wamehuzuni. There was somber mood. There was disagreement. And this was accorded message to Gachagua, to Ruto, and the Kenya Kwanza government. I don't know your views, but I can tell you, Raila stole the show. Ruto's speech backfired. Kenya Kwanza were unwelcomed in that event, depending on their speech and what they were trying to run away from. Thank you so much. See you in our next video.